All right, Ultra Noops Nation. My name is Reed Nelson. I'm joined by Izzy Elkfoss. This is This Week in Rec. I had to leave early from Fridley edition, so we're doing it uh, late at night and not on the basketball court. So let's rewind 1 week real quick because we showed the video last night. Your last second tip in. I guess before I talk about what Ferber had to say uh, on online today, which I thought he had a decent point. Tell me about the play.
Oh, well, it's kind of a the Muskies seem like they're out of sorts. Somehow, Billy started driving. John Christensen stepped up on him, swung it out to me. I pulled the trigger. John did a good job of closing out. Sent it a little long. Hits off the back iron. Then Pinkett grabs the rebound, kicks it to Chris. Chris kind of had a window, but he looks like he pump faked a couple times. Took the shot. I slid in to the weak side because I guess Casey cleared out Billy. There's a space on the weak side. I filled the lane. Just bounced perfectly, and I tried to tip it in, and they went in. Just a fortunate bounce for us.
What was the feeling right afterwards? Did you know that you guys had gotten a good call, or did you feel like you had gotten it off before, or what was the feeling directly after?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt, I thought it was good because I'm not looking at the clock. I'm only listening for the buzzer. And when I tipped it in, the buzzer sounded after I tipped it in. That was clear. It felt like I got it off about half a second early. And then when you look at the replay in real time, it's close. If you watch the video real time, it goes off and you can't tell if it's on the. I would say that I was probably 0.2 of a second late on that, and obviously when you show it in slow motion and when you show it captured with the ball still in my hand, it looks like it's obvious, but it didn't feel that way. And yeah, if you run it real time, like I said, it's 0.2 of a second, so it feels like an eternity when it's paused, but now when it's running.
Briggs had a point. The scoreboard went to zero, maybe a tenth or 0.2 of a second waited before the buzzer went off. So the refs are in a tough spot because they have to really go by what they hear.
Right.
So, like what he said, going by what he heard, the shot was good. So really not much we can do there. The Gorillas redeemed themselves last night, 85-38 over the Rebels. I haven't seen a Rebels beatdown like this in a long time. Talk a touch about that game.
Yeah, that was an embarrassment to the Rebels. I mean, that's not just a loss. That is just a ass whooping, like a legit ass whooping that the Rebels obviously have never gotten before. I mean, it was 34-24 at one point, and then the Gorillas went on a 51-14 run to finish the game. There's no way the Rebels have lost the game by 47 points. Hell, there's no way they've lost the game by 30-plus points. That's one of those games that I had a good discussion with one of my teammates, and the mystique of the Rebels could potentially take a hit within the entire league. Like the entire league might feel like, oh, these guys aren't indestructible. It might just kind of take away from the fear factor of playing against them, because I think a lot of teams, when they play them subconsciously, they feel like they're ready to defeat it. But in a game like this, where they just got embarrassed, and there must have been 30, 40 people in that gym, it's a different feeling about it. I even look at them like, God, that was just kind of, what the heck was that? And I think Paul makes a huge difference. Personally, everybody's going to say, well, he doesn't make a 47-point difference. But it's clear as day that the Rebels need Paul badly, more than they need anybody else on their team. More than they need Jansen, more than they need Dustin. Those guys play the way that they play, and they can play the defense that they play because Paul is back there. And without Paul back there, it completely dismantles their entire defense. If he plays in that game, I honestly, based on how the Gorilla shot from the perimeter, I still think we win. But honestly, I think it's a single-digit win. I think it might be a two-possession game. He makes that big of a difference because it changes the momentum of the game completely. So then again, I mean, when you tote 9 guys out and you're missing your 10th guy, that's no excuse for a 47-point loss. We play that game 1,000 times. We don't win by 47.
So Paul Ferber returns from his 4-game suspension next week against the Broncos. Bad timing for the Broncos. How badly do you think the Rebels beat the Broncos next week?
Yeah, really bad. Yeah.
Like
Probably
7 points bad, maybe?
it might be a 50 burger. It's going to be a shellacking.
Okay, so Chris Maher, now refresh my memory. He has 1 MVP or 0 MVPs?
MVPs?
Yes.
Oh, Chris has more than 1.
This is my puzzle face.
Yeah, he definitely has 1. He definitely has more than 1, I would say. I think maybe 1 when you're around. I think he has 2, but I might be wrong.
We'll have to go to the almanac for that one. Okay, is he the MVP this season?
He's been an absolute animal. Yes, I would say he does it in both leagues. I mean, there's guys that do it in one league. He does it in both, and he's elite in both leagues. So, I mean, somebody can make a case for Anthony Parker. He does it in one league. I never vote for the guys that play one league. I like to kind of reward the guys for playing multiple leagues. So I think you have to do it in both leagues at a high level. And if you do it in one league, you should. I mean, you need to have an absolute monster season with an undefeated team if you do it in one league. So I think Chris is the pick this season, despite some really good players.
Okay, so let's go to Goodfellas v. Crusaders. Goodfellas beat Crusaders by 1. The Goodfellas with a very interesting season. They're riding a 3-game win streak right now after losing games to the Red Devils, to the Squires, and to the Ridge Show. They've had generally a tough schedule. They beat them last week. They beat the Rebels the week before. They beat the Crusaders last night, but only by 1. They play the Gorillas this week. I guess overall, what are your feelings on both the Goodfellas and their 4-3 record, in addition to the Crusaders, I think, who are riding a 2-game win streak? I'll confirm here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, here they beat the Crusaders by 1. Now let's put this in perspective here. The Crusaders played with 5 guys against the Red Devils, and the Red Devils didn't even have their best 4 players, and the Crusaders only won by 7 in overtime, 7 or 8 in overtime. So the Red Devils went 4-on-5 against the Crusaders, took them into OT, and the Goodfellas can only beat the Crusaders by 1? I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, now, who knows? I mean, the Crusaders may have taken the Red Devils way too lightly and played very casually, but regardless, the Goodfellas, I mean, the Crusaders are a solid team, but they're not a team that should keep up with the Goodfellas, especially with the talent that they have. So that's kind of surprising. I look at it as, even though the Goodfellas won, it's still a loss, and I kind of look at it as a win for the Crusaders.
Crusaders have only played 1 top 12 ranked team in the Muskies. They lost that game by 5. They have wins over last minute, the Broncos and the Red Devils. That win over last minute actually looks pretty good right now, especially after the win last minute I'm thinking of Miller Time and Miller Time's win last night over the Muskies.
Yeah.
Transitioned into that, last minute, of course, is now 0-7. For just one piece about last minute, for about 3 minutes last night, they were playing very hard on defense. They did that the entire game, they would win a couple games. But unfortunately, they just don't give full effort the whole time. So talk a little bit about Miller Time. They beat the Muskies last night handily. What are your thoughts?
I like Miller Time. I like their entire team. I think they have a good mix. You know, they don't have. I always say you can't have that guy that comes in and just completely craps the bed. They don't have that guy. Do they have two superstars that can carry them? No, there's some of all parts, but um, I like them. They're not a team that can win it. They are a pure spoiler team. They're a team that goes into the playoffs and can upset a top 5 seed by having a really good game and then losing in the Elite Eight. But they're not. I wish they could, but I just don't think they have enough, and they don't have enough experience, and they just don't have enough grit that's required to make that run in the playoffs against these teams that have been there and done that more than once. I mean, a one win, sure, but not multiple.
Here's a couple of stats from the game last night. Muskies lose by 24. They shoot 7 of 31 from the three-point line. Trevor Hazen, 1 of 10. In a negative 7.4 PPR. Austin Brown goes 9 of 17 from the field for 22 points. JB Corte with 15. Aaron Lukic with 14. Tom Anderson with 10. A balanced scoring attack, but yeah, the Muskies, they just look terrible. Now, they had no John Christensen. They had no Andy High but regardless, that's a bad loss. Are the Muskies, they've had an interesting season. Where do you see them landing in the postseason seedings?
Well, what have you done for me lately? They're gonna take a hit because of that Miller time loss. Here's the deal. I mean, if High and Christensen are there, I feel like they win that game. But you can't. Jason Briggs always says you can't look at it that way. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, especially since they won lost that Gorillas game. I think they'll land somewhere, depending on how next week goes. I think they'll land somewhere in the 5 to 7 range.
Let's talk a little bit. I forgot to mention the Paul Ferber note. Today he said something along the lines of, why can't we just go back and change the result of the game? And then he mentioned the Gold Cup final from last season. He has a point, because there was 0 time on the clock, and we could have easily said, okay, Izzy's shot doesn't count. The reason why I think we don't do it, and I'll let you chime in if you want as well, is just precedent. To set a precedent where we can go in and change results the day after, or in this case, a week after, is a really slippery slope that I'm not about to go down, because it just opens up the floodgates for other potential issues along those lines. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it should be an equality. I think if we can record, if we can make sure, and we're guaranteed to record every single, last minute of every single game, and get it on video, then we could essentially implement a rule where we can go review. But we're not going to have the luxury of having a video camera at every single game, just because it's going to be one of those things where, when a team gets robbed, they're going to freak out that the league doesn't care about them. They don't care about recording their games so they can get the games. It's rigged, and only the teams that, UH respects or whatever are getting these games recorded. It's just not something that we want to get into. I think what we could do is do instant replay during the Elite Eight, Final Four, and finals, because we know those games, if they're close, will be recorded, because we were going to have all the UH brass there recording the games down the wire. During the regular season, I don't think we get into it. I think we can implement it potentially in the Elite Eight, Final Four, finals. We could do like a trial run, do it for one postseason, see how it goes, and then kind of take it from there. But like he said, I don't care about the regular season game. If the Gorillas win that game, so what? Who cares? It doesn't really change much. But if we have, if Ryan Samuelson makes that 3 last season, like he said, that changes the entire season. That is the season, right? So
yes.
we need to make sure that those games are correct. So I can see us implementing it for the playoffs, Elite Eight, Final Four, finals, not in the regular season.
Here's the issue. So okay, so let's say we did that and we only did it for last second plays. The problem is when are we going to review it? Are we going to do it right on the court?
Yes.
Are we going to hop into a back room? Because with everybody circling and everybody buzzing, plus we're on that little baby camera, like we only got the real clear picture of it when I was able to upload that onto my computer and play around with the speeds on it. Then we could see, all right, no doubt about it, that was not a make. When you're trying to hit fast forward and play and rewind on that little camera, it just doesn't work. So it sounds like a great idea, but it's going to be harder to implement.
Well, dude, it's like the NBA. It's like any replay system. You have the video, the call on the court. If there's conclusive evidence, if there's evidence that shows that it's clear that they made the wrong call, then overturn it. If not, you don't. Here's the thing, Chris. I saw the video the day of, that night of, and Chris had it paused on his camera right after the game, where the ball is still in my hand with 0 seconds left. So it wasn't just this last week, because you just saw it, but we saw it last week and we knew it wasn't good. So how do you implement it? There's video, there's a call, and then the coordinator, it's you, Aaron, or Chris, will then let the refs take a look at it, make sure that the players don't get involved, make sure the players don't see the video till This Week in Rec comes out. If there is some sort of controversy, we can hash it out. That's the beauty of it. But let the refs make the decision solely without being influenced by anybody. And then, that's why so we pay them, right? We pay them to make decisions. Now, the thing is, if we need the refs to kind of support this idea too, because maybe the refs don't want to have this burden of having to look at the replay and, change their call potentially. So I think a lot more goes into it, but I definitely think in the playoffs, we need to do this because it changes the Gold Cup winners. It could potentially change the Gold Cup winners.
You're right. If Samuelson makes that shot last year, then everything changes. So let's go up to Fridley. Just so everybody knows, I don't think we're implementing it right now, but potentially maybe we'll talk about it, we'll table it, and we'll maybe bring it in for the postseason. It's possible. So. Okay, so Fridley tonight off constantly defeats or loses to the Blazers. Off constantly is now 4-3. Blazers 5-2. A couple of notable stat lines tonight. Ryan Samuelson's gone, or he's not available. I believe. I was thinking the Celtics. Garland Sanchez got tossed early during the Celtics game. Jansen goes for 20. Herzberg goes for 17. They only shot 20% from the three-point line. That's not going to win you any games. Thoughts on the Blazers off constantly?
I watched that game for a little bit. Off constantly seems like they're miffed that they're not getting the props that they think they deserve, which is weird. They do more complaining about not being talked about on This Week in Rec, or not being in the top 12, or not doing this. How about you get more than 5 guys to show up to? I think they've had 5 guys at every single game. They've went Iron 5 7 games in a row. I don't think they've ever had a sub. Maybe one game they've had a sub, but I think they should just start worrying about getting enough guys there and winning games. They were. Even today they kind of. Brian had a little smart-ass comment about Nick not putting the off constantly Blazers game up there on the initial prediction segment, and then they went out and laid an egg against the Blazers. So they got to back up this complaint that they have that they're not getting the credit they deserve, and they might finish 500. So what kind of props does a 500 team get? Not much.
Runner-up last year, I guess.
Yeah, last year.
Or last quarter. Okay, so you wanted to give a little shout out to Geno Phelps, Bulls Fob 5 tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a few teams that play 4-on-4. Fob did it last season, or it might have been. I think it was last season. Fob played 4-on-4. Gino had the option of playing 5 guys. He went 4-on-4. I like it. I mean, I like it in the regular season. I think it helps the teams. It gives them credibility. In the seeding meeting, I will put some stake into it. And here's the thing: even Fob tonight, I did not want Fob to win. Right? I wanted the Bulls to win that game. Like I got to give props to Gino, and they deserve to win. They showed up with 5 guys. If they play with 5 guys, we get shellacked. You know, if they play with 4 guys, I still want them to win. They deserve it. They showed up with 5 players, and we showed up with 4. We don't deserve to win that game. I'm glad they won. So props to him. I like it. I hope more teams moving forward do it. I don't like the 5-on-4 games. Nobody does. Nobody likes watching them. Nobody likes playing in them except the 5 guys on the court. And then unless it's postseason where you know that you got to win, play 5-on-4. Go ahead. Regular season 4-on-4, and kind of take it from there. Rod's back.
Saw that.
It was nice to get him, dropping 30 on us. That was fun.
Okay. You shared some similar thoughts to the national tournament as Mr. Briggs did last night. What say you on the national tournament?
Well, my only beef is you're jacking off the Arizona guys ball so hard because they're this team that they're an actual franchise. Well, let's get it straight. That Zach Andrews guy has played 10 career UH games. He's played 3 games with ball so hard before the national tournament. So don't tell me he's part of that team. They put him on the team just for this national tournament. So is ball so hard an organically grown, real team that played the national tournament? No, they're not. They're still an all-star team just like everybody else, and let's just move on from it. But here's the thing. Unlike Briggs, I like the national tournament. I think it's great. I think that the best team, I don't care how you're set up, whether you're playing as a real team or you're playing as an all-star team, everybody's on the same playing field. Anybody can put together an all-star team. If you happen to put together the best team, you are the best team. Period.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. So 1 week from tonight, we'll be doing the seeding meeting. The following Tuesday, right? Is next week 8? Am I missing something?
Yep, next week 8.
The following Tuesday, we'll be doing playing games. How many teams in the playing games? I don't know yet. I don't know if Jason knows yet. I don't know if you know yet. What do you want to see? And then I'll let you get to sleep.
I want 24 teams. I think there's 32. My rule of thumb is once we hit 30, I think we should let in 24. Why does it hurt UH if we have, another 4 games on the docket on that playing game night? Who cares? I mean, people play. Nobody's going to complain about playing more games. If you're the 9 seed and you have to play the 24 seed, you shouldn't be worried about that. That should just be a easy regular season game. You're probably going to play a 2-6, 3-5 team. You're probably going to be a 6-2 team. Just get your free game and move on. I don't think we should. I mean, leaving 12 teams out and likely a 3-5 team, I don't know I haven't looked at it, but likely many 3-5 teams. I just don't think it's fair because in the past, some 2-6 teams have snuck in because we haven't had that many teams. So I definitely think 24 teams is the right number for a league with 32 teams in it.
Good deal. Well, UH Nation, let us know your thoughts on instant replay. Should we go to instant replay in the postseason, or should we not? Chopper says no. I'm indifferent. Izzy thinks that we should. But, yeah. So let us know your thoughts, and we'll discuss it more as we move forward. Any final thoughts, sir?
That's a weird-looking dog.
Yes. It's a show dog right here.
Looks like a raccoon.
I'm just kidding.
Chihuahua.
It's not. It's definitely not a show dog. So Ask Pat Magnuson of the Rebels how he likes my dog. So. All right, everyone. You have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week for Week 8.
Yep. See ya.
Thank you, sir.